Here we go. Yes. Good morning, and good morning to you, Hana. First, thank you very much for making time for being on this podcast today with me here in Japan. I would say in Tokyo, but I know that you are in Yokohama. However, and good morning to everybody who is watching us now. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure that if you have been on LinkedIn for a while, you have probably met Hana Urushizawa Howell. And today I have the pleasure of having Hana with me so that we can talk about, trauma therapy and how it works. And also, we're going to talk about some other things that basically contribute to trauma or contribute to healing. But first of all, let me say once again that Hana is she provides mental health support for mixed cultural challenges here in Japan. And we have actually met before. Hannah has been on the podcast once before, I believe, but it was a couple of years ago, right, Hannah? And
Yeah.
right, and I wanted to remind everybody that basically it is not so difficult to be on our podcast, but it does require a little bit of time. And Hannah and I met thanks to Tim Sullivan, actually, because Tim Sullivan was the person who introduced us, and from there we just clicked. I believe I can say this, and yes, and we have been friends as well for quite a while. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity, Hannah, and welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you. I feel really nervous, but I'm so glad you said we're friends because it's been quite a while now.
Yes, it's been
Yeah.
quite a while. And I sometimes think about friendship, and it's like we don't meet that often, which is absolutely fine because I have to tell you one thing. Back home in Bulgaria, when I have a friend, friends usually meet once a week. So that is the culture back there. And here in Japan, the culture is different. Of course, you meet, everybody's busy and people meet maybe once a year, twice a year. But what I want to say is that even when people meet just at this frequency, there are people with whom you just feel that you can start from where you ended last time, right? The previous
Right.
time. And so those people always live in your heart, even when you don't talk with them. And it's really wonderful because I feel the same way with you. Wherever we meet, it's like we just, we haven't finished, actually, we haven't
Yeah.
stopped, right? And so,
Just picked up
again,
from the time.
yes, indeed. And so for this, I just wanted to say again to you, thank you, because, it's not that often that two people click so well, right? And can talk about so many things. So, but today I want to actually touch upon things that you are doing here in Japan because you moved to Japan a couple of years ago from Canada. You moved back, right, to Japan. And of course, many people who know you, they already know that you are also working for a company in real estate, part-time currently. But then my question is, what drew you to those two things you're doing at the moment?
Right. I don't know if I was. Um, yeah, I feel like for the real estate work, it's more like a choice. I mean, they're all a choice, but something that James and I, my partner and I, decided to do. But for therapy, I always wanted to do it, and I just didn't have a courage to start. And I was working in Vancouver as an interpreter for Toyota Canada, and I was not happy. So I took a chance to go back to school and to pursue what I wanted since probably when I was like a grade 8 or something. So it took me that bad to feel like, oh, I don't like my life, to like, okay, I'm just going to take a chance to go back to school. And then that's how I started. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say
Did
that
that answer your question?
basically, sorry?
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Yes, yes, absolutely. I just wanted to say one more thing, that in this sense too, I find it very revealing that you basically felt unhappy with what you were doing and with your life at that time, and the decision you made was going back to school. And I think this is very important for everybody who wants to grow and just bring change to their situation. And I appreciate that because quite often we don't feel, well, we feel unhappy, but still it's really difficult to make a decision of going back to school, right? And there are many reasons for that. Some people just think that studying is difficult, or it's not worth it, or they don't have time for it, right? Or there may be something else there. But I really appreciate what you said, that yes, going back to school is actually one of the ways that help us find a new path, a path that we like, and some a new way to take us somewhere, to a new
Yeah.
place, right? And
Well,
so yes, and of course today we actually are going to talk about therapy and
mm,
counseling, right? Because you have been doing it here after before coming to Japan and after coming to Japan. And what kind of therapy do you do? How do you help the people who need your help?
I do something called somatic therapy, and or more like I guess, focusing on trauma therapy. And one of the ways that I bring into session is called somatic therapy, and I am in love with this. Um, Somatic therapy really helps you understand like emotional patterns and like a trauma that you experienced in your life still living inside of your body. So, for example, you something scary thing happened to you when you're a child, and like a big adult yelled at you, or you're outcasted at school. In response to those events still live inside of you and shape you who you are today. And it shows up as like a tension in the body, or like I feel anxious and I feel stressed. Things like that people deal with daily, whether if they're aware or not, that's coming from something happened to you in the past. So somatic therapy can help you identify and almost like process that, so that you don't have to live with it in the moment. That's
Right.
therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically, I believe that everybody goes through some kind of trauma throughout life, right?
Mhm.
My question is then, so basically that trauma still lives in us. And are we aware of that or unaware of that? Because I don't know, to me personally, when I was a child, I lost one of my parents. And I was still rather young. And that was really a huge shock for me. So, but I actually couldn't process that loss for a very long time. And still, I just didn't think of it at all, right? It was like I couldn't think about it, I couldn't talk about it, I couldn't do anything about it. I just let it be somewhere,
Mhm.
right? And I never was aware that actually that trauma was within me.
Mhm.
And eventually, years and years later, of course, after I came to Japan, after I had my own family, then I somehow gave myself permission to start thinking about it. But it actually
Sorry,
takes,
Maya. Sorry, Maya.
yes.
I don't know if it's just me, but is there something, I don't know, like a fan or something next to you that it catches your the sound more than your voice?
Yeah, maybe this is the one, the air conditioner. It's an
No,
old
but
one.
you get cold if you don't have one.
No, no, I'm okay. I have the one of those brilliant devices here,
Are you sure?
for my. Yes, I am. Thank you. Did you
Okay.
hear what I was saying, or should I
Yes.
say it?
No, I caught you saying that, the event, and you didn't realize until you came to Japan, and then I kind of lost you there.
Oh, and then yes, so I just couldn't, process that loss. And then after I had my own family, and then eventually I allowed myself to think about it. And I think that from there, the processing began. But then I also wonder, is this like putting the trauma away, even when we don't think about it? It's still with us. Is
It
it,
is, yeah.
and so it shapes how we see the world, or maybe how we act, or
Mhm.
right. And so, okay, because I was never aware actually that that loss
Yeah,
shaped
I wouldn't
probably.
say, right. I can't really, definitely say that that's the one that you were feeling. Like there's so many little things and big things and
Hmm.
people deal with, but I'm certain that that's one of them, that the way who you are today is rooted from there. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. And then, so thank you for that. Then also personally, I have this question, which is a little bit strange to you, maybe, but um, well, I do believe that well, at least back home, when we were going through different periods of time, we would basically talk to our friends and so on and so on. And so I think that it happens even here to quite a few people that we have this misconception about counseling, about therapy, especially when it comes to trauma. And have you noticed anything about, you know, let's say trauma therapy, people's misconceptions? What are they, and why are they here? Probably, how can we go beyond those misconceptions and set the record straight?
That's I think that's my life mission at the moment.
Okay.
For people to, yeah, bring more awareness, right? What trauma therapy is. Um, some misunderstanding or misconception that I see, not just in Japan but the world, everywhere, is trauma has to be a big thing, right? You are, I don't know if it's good to say in the morning, but like, you, well, big accident, car accident,
Mm,
or molestation, sexual trauma, or bullying, something that you can name it, that this happened to me, like you, right? Like a loss of loved one or somebody you felt really close to. Those are like, you're allowed to say it almost. You're entitled to feel sad and pain and hurt. But trauma is not that. The way I say it is something scary happened to you that you could not get support or the help that you wanted at that moment. So as little as, I don't know, like falling, tripped on the street, right? And you scraped yourself when you're little, and there was nobody there for you, and you're the only one who had to take care of yourself, and that's really sad. This really small
mm,
thing, but it's kind of like, oh, nobody was there for me. That belief could be created in that moment when you're young. Things like that. And so I guess misconception is trauma is not what happened to you. It's more like how you perceived what happened to you. Even if it's a little thing, you created this little belief that, oh, nobody's there for me. That I called it trauma right there. And some people, when you tripped and then you just sit up and then go, then that's not how you received about yourself. So you were just, that was just what happened. There's no beliefs around what happened. So depending on the individual, how you perceived, how you experienced almost what happened to you. So it's unique to everybody. So it's not like a trauma is something that you can name it.
right.
Yeah, hope I made sense.
No, it does. It does because Well, I'm obviously one of the people who has that misconception, about trauma, because to me, trauma sounds like a term that is, well, it lives within us and then it is something big that happens. But then again, as you said, it doesn't have to be a big thing. So it sounds like it just manifests once we develop that belief, which is not necessarily true. Like, but well, it manifests in our behavior, I believe, over and over, in different situations. So yeah, all right. No, it
Sorry,
makes yeah.
sorry. I think your microphone is still not fully
No.
catching. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
what it is. It wasn't air
Yes. I don't.
conditioning.
No, it isn't. Okay. Could it be the? Could it be? Yeah.
Possibly just me though. Can anybody tell? That's
Yeah.
oh,
I just.
typically
Yeah.
here.
Yes. Okay.
It's
I
good now.
hope that it's good now. Okay. I'll keep closer to to the microphone. Let's hope it works. Okay. And then so I also think that our lives change, and they change not only because we go to different places, but because that's how times change as well. For example, nowadays we use a lot of technology. We use a lot of, let's say, even public transportation, right? Because if we live a little bit far from our workplaces, we have to get on the train or get in the car or ride a bicycle there. So basically, our lives change, but at the same time, with the people around us, we live more or less in the same pattern, right? And my question then, next question is: have you noticed any patterns there? Like
No, I can hear. Have I noticed? Sorry.
any patterns of disconnect, or any patterns, of how people basically get traumatized? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. So you were saying there are life changes and different things happening in
Yes,
life,
yes.
and
But
are there?
nowadays, yes, because nowadays, for example, we use technology much more than we did before. And of course, we use, I believe that we use public transportation, especially here in the Kanto area, much more than we used before. And there are so many other things that we go through together as a community, as a society. So, have you noticed any patterns of, let's say, acquiring, if I can use this, acquiring trauma? How do people basically get traumatized?
Mm, let me think.
Mm,
I guess what I'm trying to connect is you saying the life changes, people use technologies, people use public transportation, and then life changes. And you're asking, mm,
yeah, if
acquiring
you have,
trauma.
yes, no, acquiring, it's not probably a good expression, but have you noticed that, for example, there are certain ways that affect people more? And so, for example, nowadays, because trauma comes from small events and different events for everybody, but more or less we go through the same, let's say, um, experiences when we commute, when we use technology, for example, right? When we live in a community and so on. So then my question is, have you noticed any one or two or three ways that are more common nowadays for
Mm,
people, and like types of trauma or reasons for trauma?
right. Okay. Thank you for qualifying that. Um, I think, well, I feel guilty talking about this, but the cell phone, the smartphone
Mm,
is really pushing this fight and flight energy inside of people because are you familiar with fight and flight sympathetic energy?
right. Yeah.
Yeah. When when we are in that sympathetic state, your vision becomes narrower, your body is tightened, you're preparing yourself to fight or flee, right?
Yeah.
So when you're using,
Oh, Hannah, I lost you. Okay.
am I,
You're on mute now. Maybe unmute yourself. Okay.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I should not have brought this phone close to my laptop. So when you are looking at this narrow vision, you're looking at your phone with the narrow vision, you're basically feeding the energy of sympathetic energy. So when I get on the train, you're already inside of this small car and with many people, and some of them are probably within your personal space when you're taking a train, a busy train. And you're holding your phone and looking straight onto your phone. And that means it's not only you're sharing your personal space, which kind of feel unsafe or smaller version of unsafe, and you're looking at your phone and feeding sympathetic energy. Of course, when something happens, people are reactive because you are feeding your sympathetic energy to yourself. You're amplifying yourself by
Mm,
yourself. So I can see that people are like, very snappy. Or I
right.
heard even the story where when you when you talk to somebody by text compared to phone, people tend to get triggered more when you're typing because you're in a narrow
Yeah,
vision. Yeah, I think that's a modern problem we carry.
I see. I'm guilty of that actually because
Oh,
when
me
I
too.
do work when I work from home and I type emails and when somebody tries to talk to me and it's really difficult to split my attention or to move my attention in the moment from the text I'm typing to the conversation. And as you say, sometimes I become a bit snappy, which is really bad of me. So we have find a solution. We just work, in different rooms and do not, yeah, because obviously it's difficult. That's our brain, as you just explained. This is how our brain works. But then I also wonder, I didn't experience that in the office when I was working in the office. It's really interesting because when I'm at home. Um, it really demonstrates much more often. When I'm in the office and I do the same and somebody talks about different things around me, I'm able, to switch off and concentrate only on what I'm doing. So and I wonder whether also the distance, the emotional distance we have with the people around us also plays a role there because
Yeah,
it looks like at home when I know the people around me, when I'm connected with them as a family, right? It's much easier to say, please don't talk to me now. So I'm working, but I cannot say the same thing in the office. So
yes, yeah. You're more open. You're more like you can be yourself because you're safe enough and accepted enough in the environment. But at work, your expectation or their expectation on you is different. So I
right.
would imagine, yeah,
Yeah, and also I also had a boss, at my previous workplace, and even though the whole workplace actually was designed in an open plan, so there were no partition walls. There was nothing. Only my boss, he said to everybody, I need partition walls around my desk because I cannot concentrate, and that's it. So the company actually bought partition walls just for him. And then at that time, yes, it's funny, isn't it? And at that time, I thought this is really odd. How can you just because it's a Japanese company, how can you be so different, right? So that you can you can ask the company to provide those partition walls when nobody else actually had any. So, but then I thought maybe it makes sense to some people. Now I know that if I am at home, it makes sense for me, even though I don't have any partition walls, I just have a different room. But still, it's amazing because that boss of mine, he was known for being so empathetic, and he was really he was a good manager as well, because he led with, of course, with empathy but sympathy as well, and he led in a way that nobody ever felt ignored, and still he was all the time behind those partition walls, except for the times when people went to his desk and had
Right.
meetings with him. So I
Yeah,
don't
maybe.
know. How do you see that, from your perspective as a therapist?
Well, first of all, as a Japanese person, it's kind of funny that he was allowed to have his own version.
Right.
And as a therapist, I feel like he needed that to feel safe so that he can have room for other people to show his empathy. So if you're fighting all the time in an environment that you don't want to be, you're already exposed to other people. He might not have been able to be so kind to other people. So for him, this is a little cocoon that he felt safe in.
Mm, right. No, it
Yeah,
was, yeah. Thank you for
that's
that,
funny.
because it is funny, but obviously it worked at that time. So, of
Hmm.
course, I am also aware that not every company will probably accommodate such a request, but still, it was nice that that company did at the time. And of course, on the other hand, it's really fascinating because when we met the other week, right, the other day with you, we talked about leadership here as well. And of course, this manager of mine, he was fascinating, a great leader, and still he needed that cocoon of his, right? So it's just how, I don't know, people are, right? Sometimes we think that when our leaders are out there, it's important that we see what they do all the time because we require transparency.
Mm.
We want to know what they are up to. But it turns out that they don't have to be, let's say, on show all the time to lead well, to be able to lead well.
Hmm. How did you think about him, his cocoon?
Yeah, so to me it was really funny in the sense that even though there were the partition walls, they were not up to the ceiling, right? So
I hope
whenever
not.
no, they weren't. So I found it interesting because whenever he talked on the phone, we could all hear what he was saying. So there was no privacy in this sense of the word. When somebody had a meeting with him behind those partition walls, everybody else could hear what they were talking about. So there was no privacy at that time, right?
Mm.
So, and then at that point, I thought maybe it's just in his brain, the illusion of privacy that the partition walls give him, because of course we couldn't see how he was typing and this and that, but except for that, whenever there was a conversation, be it on phone or in person, everybody knew what was going on. So my pragmatic brain was thinking, there is basically these partition walls, they have no meaning, because they do not actually make him invisible, right? His presence
Right.
is there, it's felt.
Mm.
So, yeah, but obviously for him, it was important to know that he had that maybe illusion of privacy.
Right. Yeah, no, maybe he doesn't like to be seen or something. He wants to cut this. Being seen is not a favorite thing for many people, including myself, but some people love being seen. So maybe for
Right.
him, that was like a self cocoon for him too.
Yeah,
block that. Yeah.
right. And then you mentioned now some people don't like being seen, some people like to be so. Do you think that there is any difference between men and women in this sense of the word? For example, men prefer to be seen more than women, or is it the other way around, or is it just what it is and there are no particular um, patterns there?
Mm, good question. I never thought of that. Um, because I work in this real estate slash construction company, we have a lot of men, and some of them really like to be seen, which is kind of problematic. Um, but I think I would say just men are just used to be more in public, just historically, generationally. Uh, but I don't know if there are any difference in gender. It's
Mm,
more like your personality, your preference, your comfort. Yeah, I think just men are a little bit more trained, but I don't know if that's because of the gender. It's
mm,
more like because of how the society has been.
right. No, I like that actually, because I think that, of course, nowadays we are talking a lot about more women in the workplace, right? And
Mhm.
of course, it's encouraging actually to know that there has been some social conditioning of men to be more in the public eye than women because of our history. But at the same time, it's good to know that it's not because of gender. It's, well, it can be actually, if I can say, socially redesigned. If there are women who be more, who want to be more in the public eye, then
Right.
it's yeah. Well, there are no psychological barriers to that when it comes to gender. This because I'm trying to stir this conversation also in in to the direction of workplace, and also maybe workplace relationships and psychology and everything, because we are social animals, right? People are social animals. We like to be with others to a certain extent, different let's say extent. And as you mentioned earlier, it's for some people it's better to be out all the time or most of the time. For others, it's good when they're out just you know sometimes, not really
Hmm.
often. And I also remember, if you don't mind me saying this, but when we met, we talked about women and
Right.
also how women are viewed in society nowadays, and how difficult it could be because there are certain expectations. I actually thought about that conversation we had afterwards that women, historically, there have been certain expectations of women, right? That women are the life givers, and they are also the ones who need to take care of the home, the
Sorry,
children.
might I repeat that? Could you repeat that? So women are
The women
like
are historically,
yeah.
yes, historically,
Mm.
women are expected to be the life givers, and also to take care of children, home, communications in the community, and everything, which is a beautiful thing. But at the same time, nowadays, the society actually is putting a different or is building a different expectations of women as well, that women have to be more out there, they have to be more in the public eye, they should be more engaged in social life, and so on. And I thought maybe for some people, both men and women, but maybe mostly women, so this new expectation is putting some pressure on them as
Right.
well. So I don't know what your observations on this are, as
Mm.
somebody who works with, in this field.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this. Maybe it's me that I can't hear you too well, but I heard you. Um, yeah, this is something that I have been kind of monitoring myself for as well. And I'm sorry, Maya, could you ask me the last question?
Yes. So have you seen that there is actually, well, because there is new expectation, right, of women, in addition to them being let's see, the home keepers. I'm not saying housekeepers, but the people who take care of the home. So,
Mhm.
and in addition to that, now women are expected to be more in the public eye, and they are expected to be more engaged in work and so on. And have you seen any, let's say, even dissonance or any additional stress in women because of these new expectations?
Right. I mean, the first thing comes in my mind is like, I don't know since when, but there's a huge movement of like women can be the same as men or even better than men and all those things. But I don't know if the society, the system is ready. We have, for example, in our company, we have more than 10 women, and a couple of them went through the maternity leave and then sankyu, ikukyu, those things
Right.
that they came back and like a year later, 2 years later. Luckily, they are skilled enough to come back and ease back into the company. But when could they do that? Could they have done that if they didn't have any like a particular hands-on skills, so on so I feel like the when you read news or like watch news, there seems like there are a lot of changing. But in Japan, when they came back, I don't really see a lot of welcoming
Mhm.
to for women to be the old expectations as well as these new expectations, and there's no like a proper stage for them to survive or like to thrive.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that, well, I mean, there has been a lot of talk recently about this. And yeah, we are told that we can be the same as men. And from my personal experience, luckily, basically, I could take a maternity leave and then go back to work without any interruptions, right? But that's because the company was, I, let's say, sensible, right? And they offered the maternity leave, and they said that yes, we're waiting for you to come back, right? So, but not every woman actually gets that, and still, some companies, I would say here in Japan, they expect women to just quit after having a child, right? But at the same time, I can see that there is also this hesitation within my girlfriends, let's say the women I know, and some of them are very, very upset. They were upset when the company basically hinted to them that they were expected to quit, right? After having a child. And others were the opposite. They were like, "Yes, I want to dedicate my time, at least the next several years to my child or my children. So I'm happy to stay at home and do this and that." And I think that nowadays in Japan, in particular, maybe in other countries too, there is this dissonance that as we talked, there are new expectations of women, but at the same time, they do not take into account what those women are prepared to do.
Mhm.
So, because some of them are very willing to go back to work after the IKUQ, which is the maternity leave, 1 year, usually 1 year here in Japan, and others just want to continue until the child starts going to school. And then I think basically I wanted to ask you, have you also noticed that there are some, because of this dissonance, and lack of preparedness of the systems here in Japan, do you think that some women go through trauma because of this, or is it just what it is, and most women are
Mm,
dealing with it in the best possible for them way?
right. Well, that's a big one, Maya. I feel like it's not just for mothers, but also children go through or can be going through
Mm,
traumas. For the women who gave a birth, that identity change, the life change, the body changes, and a lot of changes that they have to go through with the same desire that she had before giving a birth, which is pursuing a career. So that she wants to do the same thing, but at the same time she has to keep dealing with these changes, which can be a chronic stress, right? A chronic change, chronic fatigue that she might have to go through. And for a child, I'm not saying, just to be clear, I'm not saying the child, the daycare is good or bad or anything like that. But the separation from a child being separated from a mother is a very challenging thing for a kid to go through. And then when a child comes back and see the mother again, and the bonding gets created even more. So I'm not saying sending kids to daycare is a bad thing. It's more like you're letting a child to be more resilient and then being more loving to each other. I don't deny that, but it's a challenge for many kids to go to a different environment, leaving the mother behind. So that could be really challenging for kids, and that can be a trauma. Many people go through it and it doesn't become a trauma, but
mm.
that's something that could happen to a child. So I could see that it's both mothers and children.
Right. I remember listening to you now. I remember that basically the first day in Hoikuen, when I sent my daughter there, and they got the mothers, six mothers, right? Because all the mothers, well, the kids, they had only six kids in one group. And so they got us sitting there on the floor in a circle, and they started talking to us. And the moment they said, okay, so this is the first day of your child being with us, we'll take very good care of them and this and that, and I started crying because
Mm.
I couldn't just um, how can I say, deal with the pain of having my daughter separated from me, while it's really funny, she was actually very happy to see the other kids. And so, which was really interesting. But of course, yeah, I understand that we go through separation, well, in different ways, but yeah, it's really also there were kids back then who cried for their moms, and then the moms they had to stay there a little bit longer, to calm them down and so on and so on. So of course it's different for every one of us, but yes, as you say, yeah, hopefully, most of us go through those moments without really huge consequences for the future uh,
Yeah.
between children and parents. Yeah, Hannah, I've got a comment from Christy I. So she says, Hannah, I just sent you a connect request. I took a year-long coaching certification created by a somatic psychotherapist in California. Her name is Alyssa Nobriga. I'd love to hop on a connect call if you are open to it. Curious to learn if you practice trauma-informed therapy in both Japanese and English. I'd love to collab and talk about educating people around emotional self-awareness, especially in Japan.
Wow.
So, yeah. Well,
Totally
thank you
down.
very much. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for this, Christy. And yes, please communicate with Hannah. after we finish the podcast. But yeah, so Hannah, do you do Japanese and English, or do you stick to one of the languages? Your sessions, what language are they in?
I offer both in Japanese and English, and most of my clients actually are bilingual. So they kind of go back and forth. Mainly English, I guess, often, but some parts when you grow up in Japan and you move to overseas like me, the some of the words or the sensations are in Japanese and memories are in Japanese. And then your adult brain takes over during the session. But when you go back to childhood, they start speaking Japanese, things like that. So yeah, both. It can be both. I wish I spoke more. It doesn't really matter the language in therapy. You don't even have to speak what happened to you. We're going to
Mhm.
talk through the sensations that you're feeling. So that's one of the unique ways that somatic therapy can offer healing.
Right. And so do you, because yes, Christy also mentions emotional self-awareness. Is this the same as emotional intelligence, or is it something different from therapist perspective?
Hmm. Emotional intelligence versus emotional awareness.
Yeah.
I think awareness comes first to be intelligent. I guess you could use it interchangeably, but you need to be aware of what you're feeling, how other people are feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to be smart at it. So, first comes from the first awareness and then moving on to intelligent. I don't know. What do you think, Christy? I hope I'm saying it. I guess that's my version of understanding of the
Right.
difference.
Thank you. Yeah, because I see a lot of talk about emotional intelligence, not so much about awareness. But yeah, Christy, if you're still there, please let us know your thoughts on this as well. And so, do you think that it helps actually? Well, let's say the awareness. Does it help dealing with trauma?
Oh, yes. Yeah. As everything happens from there. Like, start being aware of what's happening inside. It's not just outside what happened to you, it was more like what still is happening inside. The awareness of these sensations, right? Like, I feel heat in my belly, or oh, I'm feeling jittery in my arms, or oh, I feel so heavy. Something is core inside of me. Is there something heavy inside of me, or things like that? Like being aware of what kind of sensations we're feeling, which we are usually not taught very much when we are growing up. We talk about what you think, your ideas, your thoughts. We learned it a lot at school, and which is like this part of the brain, this
Hmm.
the brain,
The frontal, yeah,
yeah, frontal cortex. I think that's we use a lot to think, process, um, problem solving, things like that. It's very important to have, and also very unique to this mammal part, right? Mammal has
right,
those.
yeah,
But the somatic therapy is going to work on the sensations. So it could be this amygdala, which is the
the primal brain.
yes, this emotional brain that
Mm-hmm.
has alert system. You're sensing where is there's a danger or safety around you. So that's here. And also this very old, this is a brain model by Siegel, Daniel Siegel, by the way, but that's why I'm doing this. There's amygdala here, and then there's a brainstem. This is the oldest part of the brain, is more like just fight and flee, the sympathetic energy, whether if you survive or not.
Right.
So that communicates with you in sensations, not like, hey, I feel anxious, or hey, I feel happy. It's those are more like a language that come from here. But
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about the sensations that with like a warmth, cold, um, I'm kind of repeating myself, but this, yeah, jittery, I feel like I need to move, or these sensations we are going to work with.
Right. So does it mean then that we need to reconnect that the oldest part of the brain, the amygdala, to the frontal cortex, so that we can basically know what is happening? Does that mean creating awareness?
Hmm.
Uh, because, as you say, we are not taught how to identify the states we are in, right? Because sometimes we feel jittery or we feel very nervous, very tense.
Hmm.
But all those sensations, they come from the amygdala because there is a reason for that. But since we're not aware of, we cannot name the state we are in, we are not also inclined to look for the reason of
Right,
that state. So does it
right,
mean that we need to learn to create the connection, or therapy is basically teaching your patients to create the connection between the amygdala and then the frontal cortex.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, there are actually three parts, right? The front
Yeah.
cortex, amygdala, and then the most oldest brain, most not evolved, I guess, brain is the one that's telling you what sensations are. Um, so the sorry, what was your question again?
So is
Oh,
therapy
you have to be
basically,
aware.
yes, to be aware, and is that the connection between the different parts of the brain?
Hmm. It's not just about the brain, but it's more like a nervous system. So,
Mm.
oh, that's going to be a big thing. But basically, in I think you can do it in therapy. You can do it on your own to be just to be aware of what you're feeling, what kind of sensations you're feeling through meditation or through just sit in a silent, started feeling, paying attention to what's going on inside. And in therapy, you can do it with somebody, which can uh, leads to a co-regulation. So I can feel what you're feeling at the same time. So you are not just by yourself feeling so scared. You know,
Right,
you're anchored with somebody, which is therapist, and you can challenge yourself feeling that unpresent feeling with somebody is really helpful to do. So yes, you can do it through meditation to gain awareness, and then you can maybe sit with somebody who you trust and feel safe with for those sensations to come out and a process together.
right. So, and you said that in therapy, the patients sit with their therapist, and so that they go through the emotions together. As a therapist, because I know that you're a very empathetic person, as a therapist, do you sometimes feel overwhelmed by sharing those experiences with the people you help?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, if they're like big thing, then I have my own reaction of what I just heard from a client. But
Mm.
I think that's the main work that therapists do, is to work on yourself so that you can have always a space for other people. You know, when you hear somebody's story that is relatable to you or very similar experience you had, you might start feeling your version of what's going on. And therapists, you can kind of like put that aside because you've already worked on that. So my biggest challenge, or has been, because I've been working on so long, is relationship with my mother. You know, she is the trickiest one for me. And I have a different attachment style and, you know, all the things that I have been working on. And most of the time when clients come to me and they talk about their relationship with their mothers, I'm okay with it because I don't have to feel my own emotions or sensations because I'm trained in that, and I can be fully there for what they're saying. I don't even think about what happened to me at that moment. So I think that's who therapists are for clients.
Right. No, that sounds very good because I would imagine that sometimes it could be overwhelming, but obviously, as you say, that is training and experience as a therapist. So then it also means that you can be there fully present for the clients you have without taking away anything from their experiences, which
Mhm.
is, yeah, great. And I also have noticed that many women have this challenging relationship with their mothers. I am one of them too. So, yeah, I think that many of us just go through it because we're different people, even though we come from those mothers, right? We are still different people, different personalities, characters, and everything. So, and so you work with women who have these challenging relationships, but also you work with people who come from many different walks of life. Is my understanding correct?
You're working, so people work with many, I didn't catch that word.
Who come from many walks of life. So you
Mhm.
don't, yes, you basically work with people who have gone through trauma.
Mhm.
So you do not have specific customer, right? Or specific
No,
character.
mhm.
Okay,
Anybody really,
right.
right? That's kind of hard to say, right? Like I see like a therapy as like a physiotherapist. You don't really pick one. Like, oh, I only work with like a left arm
Right.
injury. You know,
Right.
you need to
Yeah.
see everything what's happening when you go to see a therapist, physiotherapist. They check every part of your body and start treating what you think it's might be causing a problem. The therapy is the same. I'll ask you in a first session, I'll ask you like a childhood or like what kind of life you had, any traumas you're aware of, and I want to see who you are, how you are created in this world, and then we can start focusing on the trauma that you want to work on.
Right. And
Mhm.
then, so how can people reach you? Because you are on LinkedIn, and everybody who is on LinkedIn can reach out to you and talk with you there. But are there any other ways uh, in
Um,
which people can find you?
right. I have a website, I have a booking system, and my office is still registered in Canada, so it's in English. And hopefully, you can use like a Google Translate or something if you're Japanese. But and else, yeah, I think that's it's the easiest to find me, and LinkedIn as well.
And LinkedIn, yes. And what is the name of your website?
It's kokorowellnesscounseling.com. It's kind of
Kokoro
long.
Wellness. Yes. Okay.
Counseling.com.
I'll
Mhm.
yeah. Then I'll share the link uh, in the description of the YouTube video, and also I think I can share it on LinkedIn as well in the comment section of this podcast.
Yeah,
So, oh no, thank you, Hannah. Well, thank you very much, really, for today.
is it
And
time?
it is time. Yes, it's we are at the 59th minute, and this is the time when we actually let everybody go to work because it's Wednesday morning. But yeah,
Right?
1 hour is a short period of time, and we can continue this conversation as soon as you have a little bit more time to spare.
Sounds, yes,
Yes, I would love
sounds
to.
good. I
Yeah.
would love to too.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. And to everybody who watched or will watch later, thanks again. Please, let us know that you have been here. Hit like, subscribe, or even share this session. Reach out to Hannah, either on LinkedIn or visit her website. I'll share the link in the description of the video. And yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation, Hannah. Thanks a lot
Sounds
for
great,
it.
Maya. Thank you.